Hi there. In 2020, I started something that is now able to consistently match and very often exceed my monthly regular income. If you want to know what I did, how I did it, how you could do it too, please stay till the end. If there is something I learned during the pandemic, that would be to never rely on one source of income. Back in April 2020, it became very clear that I was about to lose my job. Remember, this is the beginning of the pandemic. So imagine I'm sitting in my living room with a list. In this list, all my bills, all my monthly bills. And I promised myself then and there that I would never allow myself to be in that situation again. I decided to take my personal finance affairs in my own hands and to start having more control. Now, 3 years later, what I started back then is what's enabling me today to have better lifestyle, to avoid worrying what I put on the table, and actually disconnect money from my decision-making process, because there's nothing worse than having to make a decision based on the lack of money. You make decision from a position of weakness. My strategy was to begin with me as a starting point and then see what side hustle ideas could fit me, my situation, and my specific skill set, instead of actually picking the side hustle and only then working out how I fit. Let's dive right in with step 1, which is identify your interests and the skills you're relatively proficient at. Now, I intentionally selected both interest and skills because I knew it will actually be very hard for me to maintain something that I don't get at least some kind of enjoyment from the process. You need to be sure that this is something that you could realistically be doing for a longer period of time. As an example, can you write code? Can you create user interfaces? Can you create websites? Maybe you create very good sales copy. Maybe, I don't know, you like gardening and you know a lot about plants. Maybe you're a fitness enthusiast and you can advise people on their health habits. Whatever this is, at this stage, please list absolutely every single thing that comes to mind that you enjoy doing and that can potentially lead to something more. Step number 2, validate your skills. Now that we have listed all of your skills, it's time to actually check if there is a market for them. From the list, identify what feels like play to you, but looks like work to others. And I think this is a quote from a book. I'm not sure, but I will look this up for you and list it down below in the description. Now, whatever, I'm digressing here. In other words, what I'm trying to say is you need to make sure that there are people, there are a group of people out there that are actually willing to pay for what you have to offer. At this stage, we narrow down the options and all we're looking for is a proof of concept. You can do some research on, platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn. I particularly use LinkedIn. You can use Quora, Reddit, any type of forum, essentially, to just measure the interest of the market. Something else you could do at this stage is to look for some freelance websites like Upwork, but please only use those for research purposes. I do have my reasons to advise you that, which I will reveal in step 4, but all in all, these websites are probably very saturated for you and it will take a lot of time to get noticed. For now, we need a signal from the market that there is a demand for your service and nothing more. Step number 3 is develop your offer. Let's say you have a winner, you've done your research, and you've chosen your new venture. Now you need to identify what makes you different from the competition and test it. Actually test it by developing an MVP, which means minimum viable product. Now I know this sounds a little complicated now, but please stay with me because this is very important phase. Essentially what I'm trying to say is that you don't need to wait until your product is complete to bring it to market. And actually, to you, this is great news because it would be a big mistake to spend all the time developing something, developing and working on an idea without any testing whatsoever. By the way, I did this mistake, so actually joke's on me, but I hope you don't do it. All you need is some kind of product or service offer, some kind of a draft of your product or service if you wish. And then you need to pay attention, close attention to what feedback you receive from the market. Now I know it's easier said than done, so I will include some additional information, some resources that practically help me to achieve that down in the description below. Let's say you provide marketing consulting for small and medium enterprises, SMEs, in a specific industry. Imagine you create 1-hour webinar about a problem that you know in your heart that your service can actually solve for your target customer. And then you actually pack the webinar with information, with valuable info, no time wasted whatsoever. Now, if you don't get signups, meaning people are actually not interested in this, even though it's free, then this, my friend, is actual sign for one of two things. Number one, the problem isn't big enough to be addressed by the market at this particular time, which is plausible, absolutely. Not only plausible, but possible. And number two, there is something in your offering that isn't working and you need to go back to the drawing board. Either way, you've already received some kind of feedback from the market. On the other hand, if people say yes to this opportunity, if people come to your webinar, this is an amazing opportunity for you to ask questions and refine your product based on what your target market is telling you. Now, imagine you have a business idea and you have the ability to ask your ideal fit customer what they need. In that situation, all that is left for you to do is go home, create the product, then come back and sell it to your target audience. Going to market can be absolutely a separate video, so let me know if you want me to make something similar. But for now, for the sake of this video, this is all you need to know. And we're moving to step 4. Step 4 is build a strong brand and scale. Now, do you remember that I said that websites like Upwork and other freelancing websites aren't the best idea for you to participate in? Look for some freelance websites like Upwork, but please only use those for research purposes. Here's why. Essentially, imagine you have two options. You could build a relationship with your ideal customer, and as a result, you get warm leads. It's almost like people are coming to you and say, where do I sign to work with you? And option 2, that you go to a probably already very saturated marketplace, and as a newbie, you will have to compete with the established players on pricing only to get some social proof, some customers to get you some social proof. Now, pause the video, think about it, and decide which one is the right choice. If you think option 1 is better, then next you need to focus on building a strong personal brand. On these websites, supply exceeds demand by a large margin. By establishing yourself as an authority in your chosen niche, in your chosen field, you can actually use supply and demand forces to work in your favor. Imagine, instead of competing in the market, you almost create your own market. Now, the way I did this is by creating content. This helped me put my business on the map, and this helped me build trust. This helped me attract customers, and this helped me get to know people, get to know my target market, and allow my target market to get to know me as well. I reflected on my background. I reflected also on what motivated me, apart from money, of course, and the desire to diversify my income streams. And I also started thinking what my angle is. What is my position in this particular industry and my niche? And remember, in every industry, there are different sides you could take. There are different debates, different arguments that people within the industry are having. And those are very useful to provoke interest, which will work in your favor. These elements will actually form the essence of your brand message. And your brand message then has to be consistent across all your platforms, all platforms that you're using to spread it. To be frank, there isn't an easy and a short way to establish yourself, honestly. But what truly works is actually being vocal, being consistent with your brand message, and being helpful by providing value. And remember, actually, this was very surprising to me as well at the beginning. Giving free information can literally make you rich. That's actual truth. So identify where your target market hangs out and attack the place with your content. Attack it heavily and dominate that space. And there you have it, a clear step-by-step blueprint to kickstart your side hustle journey. And with these steps, you will be well on your way to building a side hustle that is not only supplementing your income, but has the potential to actually be your main gig. So don't wait, start now. I will see you next time, my friend. Keep hustling.